Hi, everybody. Welcome. My name is Dennis Brown. I'm the host of the Freight Broker Bootcamp Live. We do this every week on Mondays, and today is a special episode. This is a special live because I'm doing what I call an Ask Me Anything. So a lot of times I'll do Q&A at the end of these, but I'm going to dedicate this entire session to answering questions for you about how do freight brokers and freight agents get shippers? Okay. So that's what we're going to dedicate this time to. I'm excited because I've also got a big announcement and some special news to share with you here a little bit later. But before we do all that, okay, we're going to do the free giveaway. For those of you that jumped on a little bit early, thank you so much. We're going to do a quick giveaway. And here's what that's going to look like. All right. So we're going to let a few people get live. In the meantime, hit me up and let me know where you guys are logging in from. I'll try to give you some shout outs, maybe a little bit for a minute or two. And then we are going to be doing a free giveaway. To participate, it's going to cost you nothing for the giveaway. And all you'll have to do is follow some simple instructions. So let's let some people get live, and then we will hit the giveaway, I should say. So the format is we're going to do the giveaway. Then we're going to do the live Q&A, which is the Ask Me Anything. And the topic today is how do freight brokers and freight agents get shippers? And then at the end, I'm going to give you some special announcement or some news, some special news that some of you have been waiting for quite a while. But we'll keep that quiet till the end. Okay. So we've got a bunch of people logging in. That's awesome. We've got Rashawn from Kennesaw, Georgia, Forhad from Queens, Joseph from Lynchburg, Tennessee, Dolnya from Colton, Tanya from South Carolina, Monique. Okay, we got a bunch of people live. Listen, let's do the giveaway, and then I'll maybe try to do a few shout outs before we start the Ask Me Anything, okay? So I hope you guys are excited. Again, before we get started, hit the like button no matter where you're at. I don't care if you're on Facebook, YouTube, or where you're watching this. Hit the like button and then share the stream. Let other people know about these lives that I do every week, okay? I gauge this week to week whether I'm going to jump in and do the lives based upon how many likes, comments, and shares. That's the only feedback you guys can give me through these lives, okay? So first hit the like button, then share the stream. And obviously, when you do have questions a little bit later, make sure you hit me up in the comments with them. But wait on those questions because I will not see them if you put them in there now, okay? All right, so here's all you got to do. First giveaway, we are going to be giving away another of the coveted Freightpreneur t-shirts, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand, okay? So we're going to give away this Freightpreneur t-shirt. It's absolutely free. You have to be in the United States to participate because I don't ship these overseas. It doesn't make any sense, okay? So we're going to give away one Freightpreneur t-shirt right now. Here's all you got to do. Lean in and listen really quick. Pull out your iPhone. This is for iPhone users only. If you have an iPhone, pull out your iPhone right now. And what I want you to do is I want you to go into the podcast app. There's a native app built on there. If you're not familiar with it, just search your apps for podcast. You'll pull up a podcast app. And then what I want you to do is I want you to search for Freight Broker Bootcamp. Freight Broker Bootcamp, okay? Then you're going to see my bald head and a logo that kind of looks like that. That's the Freight Broker Bootcamp audio experience podcast that I launched probably like 6 or 8 months ago. It's been ranked in the top 100 of all entrepreneur podcasts on Apple. So we're really happy about that. So here's all you got to do. Pull up the app. Okay. Pull up Freight Broker Bootcamp and then like and subscribe to the podcast and then do a quick rate and review. All you got to do is rate 1 to 5 and then a quick review. Okay. Do that and then come back into the comments, in Facebook here and just say, Apple podcast, subscribed, rated, reviewed. Lets me know that number 1 on Apple, number 2, you subscribed, number 3, you rated and reviewed. Okay. You got to let me know that you did that. All right. And then if you do that in the comments, I'm going to select one of the people that does that to win the free t-shirt. It's that simple. That's all you got to do. It's going to take you 60 seconds. So pull out your iPhone. Again, I'm going to do this for non-iPhone users also, but for iPhone users, I want you to go pull out your iPhone, go to the podcast app, search for Freight Broker Bootcamp, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. That's all you got to do, okay? And then come back in here in the comments and let me know that you Apple subscribed, rated, and reviewed, and I will enter you as one of the few people that gets a chance to win the very coveted Freightpreneur t-shirt. Okay. Someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. All right. So I'm going to be sending that out to one lucky person here in the US only. Again, I shared that earlier, but you need to subscribe to the podcast now. Joseph, you can't say done. You have to say Apple, subscribed, rated, reviewed. I'm sorry, but that's the only way that I'm going to know which contest you did, because there's 2 of them. So just please follow the instructions. I know I'm being a little bit anal here, but you need to say Apple, subscribed, rated, reviewed. Okay. Because what's going to happen is after everybody does this, I'm going to go in and randomly, I'm going to close my eyes and randomly point my mouse to somebody, and that's going to be the winner. And if you don't have Apple rated or Apple subscribed, rated, and reviewed, you can't win. Okay. Because I don't know that you did everything that was supposed to be done. All right. So make sure that you follow the instructions. We got a few people that have entered. So I'm going to try to do 2 giveaways if we can. But again, we need a little bit of participation here. So anybody who is an Apple user, pull out your iPhone, pull up Freight Broker Bootcamp on the Apple podcast, subscribe, rate, and review, and then come back into the comments and let me know that you did that. Okay. All right. So we're waiting for a few more people, and then I'm going to do the giveaway, and then we're going to do a giveaway for non-Apple users. Okay. Don't worry. I haven't forgotten about you. All right. So the agenda, while we're waiting here, the agenda is we are going to be doing this quick giveaway. Then we're going to be doing an Ask Me Anything session that's dedicated specifically to how do freight brokers and freight agents get shippers. And then we're going to have a special announcement. I got some news for you that some of you have been waiting to hear. So that's where we're at. All right. So we got quite a few people that have subscribed. Hey, Tim, how are you? Good to see you. Hope that issue that you had, we were talking about online, gets resolved. My fingers are crossed for you. It's too bad, but hopefully that gets resolved. So I'm pulling for you. All right. Okay, guys. So here, we're going to go 1 more minute. Then we're going to do the next giveaway for the non-Apple users. Okay. So we get about 30 to 60 seconds here where you guys, Apple users, can get a jump on this and get a chance to win the shirt. And again, I've got some cool stuff. I got a cool announcement that I want to share with you guys. Some of you guys may have already heard this morning. Some of you may not. But if you're live here today, you have an interesting opportunity if you guys stick around, right? But you got to stick around until I do the announcement. Okay. All right. So let's go. Let's do the first giveaway. I am going to do my very non-scientific version of how I do this, which is I close my eyes, I scroll my mouse through the comments, and then I land on one. And the winner is Tim Quirk. Tim. So Tim I interviewed Tim on one of these Freight Broker Bootcamp Lives. He's had a huge success story. I think he was doing when I interviewed him last year or earlier this year, he was doing over $1 million a month as a freight broker. Okay. So just so you guys know, Tim is a huge success story. Congratulations, Tim. I'll send you off the shirt. All you got to do to collect it is this: message me with your full name, your address, and your size. Let me know that you won the Apple subscribed t-shirt giveaway, and then I'll make sure I ship that off to you. Okay. So thank you so much for playing along. Congrats on all your success. Let's move on to the next contest. So this is for anybody. You can be an iPhone user. You can be an Android user. You can be a whatever user. As long as you have a mobile phone, here's what I want you to do. You can go to Spotify. Okay. Go to Spotify. Most of you know that already because you listen to music there. Well, Spotify has podcasts. So if you go into Spotify and you do the same sort of search for Freight Broker Bootcamp, okay, you're going to see my big, bald, shiny head, and you're going to see the Freight Broker Bootcamp logo. Okay. So on Spotify, go into Spotify. Now on Spotify, they deem it as following, right? So you hit the follow button and then you hit the bell next to it. There's a little bell next to it. So you follow and then you hit the bell. Okay. That's going to make sure you get notifications when new episodes come out on the podcast. This is audio only training, right? So where you can listen whether you're working out, whether you're walking the dog, whether you're driving, no matter where you're at, whether you're just sitting in the office making cold calls, you can have this on in the background. But anyway, subscribe, okay? And then they will allow you to review 1 to 5. They'll allow you to rate it 1 to 5. If you click on the rating 1 to 5, just click on, the 5, and then it'll give you a chance to rate 1 to 5. So what I want you to do is follow, hit the bell, and then rate the podcast on Spotify. And then come back in here and let me know that you rated, that you subscribed, rated the podcast on Spotify. So you rated and subscribed the podcast on Spotify. You let me know that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick one of those winners, because again, you could be on Apple with that. You could be on Android with that. Apple Podcast is only for the Apple phone, right? So you have to be an Apple user, but you can get Spotify on Apple, Android, or anywhere. Okay. So that's what I want you to do. Naja, it is on Google Play. So if you subscribe, actually it's on Google Podcast. I'm not sure if it's on Google Play, but it's on Google Podcast. So if you do subscribe on Google Podcast, come in here and let me know that you did that, and I'll let you be a part of this giveaway for the free t-shirt. And again, we're going to give away another Freightpreneur t-shirt. Okay. One of these t-shirts, again, you got to be in the US to collect this prize, but all you got to do is subscribe on Apple or on Google Podcasts. I guess we've agreed to. Let me know in here that you did, where you subscribed, and we're going to do the giveaway. All right. Good. You got your shirt. So Raid Islam got his shirt. He was a winner in a previous live. So congratulations. Okay, good. D Leach, Sean Lemansky. Sean has been in almost every one of these contests, if I can recall, for the last month or two, trying to get one of these shirts. So I'm pulling for you, Sean, but I can't promise. Okay. So, all right. So we're going to let a few more people get subscribed and get back to me here in the comments about Spotify or Google Podcasts. So all you got to do is subscribe, hit the bell, and then rate the podcast. I think it gives you a 1 to 5 rating. Be honest, right? If you think my podcast sucks, give me a 1. Okay. Just be honest. If you think it's a 4, give me a 4. If it's a 5, then hey, more the merrier, right? So do that. And then we're going to start the Ask Me Anything live Q&A in just a few minutes. But we do still have a couple more minutes to do the giveaway. So I'm hoping that everybody, okay. Naja, you got to let me know. Just say Google Podcast, subscribed, reviewed. Okay. Let me know, Naja. You can't say done. Okay. Because I can't pick you out of these comments, because the only way I'm going to be able to pick a winner is to scroll down through and know where you subscribed and that you qualify for the giveaway. Okay. Because there's lots of comments here. There's people asking questions. There's people saying where they're from. There's people subscribing on all kinds of different channels. Okay. So let me know that you subscribe, where you subscribed. Let me know that you subscribed on Spotify and or on Google Podcasts. I'm sure it's on a bunch of other platforms. I know it's on a bunch of other platforms, but I would tell you that probably 90% of all podcast listeners listen on Apple, Spotify, or Google. Probably. I would bet that probably 90% of all podcast downloads come from those 3 apps, if I had to guess. 85 to 90%. So that encompasses probably most of you. Okay, guys. So we got 30 more seconds here for you guys to subscribe on Spotify or Google to the podcast to qualify for the free giveaway of the Freightpreneur t-shirt. Again, solving problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Okay. And you can't get these anywhere else. You can't buy these anywhere else. They're not for sale. I don't sell them. Okay. I only give them away. I'm probably a fool because I probably could have sold 1,000 or more of these, but honestly, I just don't have a lot of time. So that's where we're at. 15 more seconds. Then we're going to do the Spotify, Google podcast giveaway. And then we are going to dive into the training. All right. All right, cool. So here we go. I'm going to scroll down through and I'm going to pick one random winner. And I couldn't have done this on purpose, even if I wanted to. Sean Lemansky, you are the winner of the subscribe rated on Spotify. He followed instructions. He was diligent in making sure that he was here on all these lives. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you. Congratulations for winning. Here's all you got to do. You probably already know this. Go to the Freightbroker Bootcamp Facebook page. Message me with your full name, your address, your size. And then I want you to let me know that you won the Spotify podcast t-shirt giveaway. And this will go out in the next week or two. You'll get it. And thank you and congratulations for winning. Thank you, everybody who played along. I really appreciate it. And the podcast appreciates it. Again, we've been ranked in the top 100 out of all entrepreneur podcasts. And when I tell you, there are thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of entrepreneur podcasts on Apple. Okay. And we were ranked in the top 100. That's because of you. Thank you so much. Everybody's enjoying the audio only training, and I'm enjoying putting it out there. My only regret is not doing it 2 or 3 years sooner. So, but isn't that always the regret, right? When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago. What's the second best time? Today, right? Same thing goes for your business, right? If you've been thinking about this for a while, and for whatever reason, you just haven't been able to get enough energy or momentum to get this thing going, today's the day, okay? So today we are going to be doing what I'm going to call an Ask Me Anything, which is a live Q&A where we are going to focus in on a very specific topic, which is how do freight brokers and freight agents get shippers? So I'm assuming you're going to be asking me lots of questions about cold calling and cold emailing and filling your funnel and overcoming objections and all these different things. Okay. So we're going to be talking about and freight niches and all these different things, right? Rating and all these different things. So we're going to be talking about a variety of different topics, but the topic is going to be determined by you because you are going to ask the questions and I'm going to do my absolute best to answer those questions. Okay. But before we dive into that, I want to get to know who's here today, and then we'll dive into the training. Hit me up in the comments with the city and state that you're logging in from, and I will try to give you a quick shout out. I think we've got some other ones in here that have already given listed. Cynthia Moore from Maryland, welcome. We've got Taffy Ellis from Shreveport. We've got, what do we got? We got all kinds of people here. We got Tim Quirk from Bergen, New York. We got Francis from Victorville, California. We got Patty Smith from Madison, Texas. We got Rachel from Brownsville, Texas. We got Shirazad from Dayton, Ohio. Brenda from Delaware. Trevor from LA. Ozan Atkiss from Lincoln, Nebraska. We got people from all over the place. So thank you so much for being here. We got Brandy from Dallas. Philip Lee from Spring Hill, Tennessee. Islam from Chicago, Illinois. Janessa from Long Island, New York. Keith from Boonville, Missouri. Deborah from Los Fresnos, Texas. We got people from all over the place. So I'm excited that you guys are here, and I want to thank you for joining me. This is a special episode of the Freight Broker Bootcamp Live because we are doing what I call an Ask Me Anything. The last time I did this was a few months ago. It was really popular. It was one of the most popular lives we've had. Tons of people tuned in, tons of views, tons of comments, tons of questions, tons of feedback. So I'm excited. I hope you guys are too. So without further ado, why don't we dive in? Again, let me just reiterate. Today, we are doing what I'm calling an Ask Me Anything. This is where you can ask me any questions that you have, but it's about a very specific topic. And that topic is, how do freight brokers and freight agents get shippers? So we're going to talk a lot about sales. We're going to talk a lot about customer acquisition. We're going to talk a lot about those topics that are so centrally important to the whole business, right? Because you can go out and, become an agent. You can go out and get your own freight broker authority. But if you don't have shippers, if you don't have customers, you're going nowhere fast, right? Because you've got to have somebody to serve. And so that's the topic of today's Ask Me Anything. All right. So I have a feeling I'm going to get a lot of questions. All right. And I want to qualify right up front. I am probably not going to get to everybody's questions. Okay. And questions that are not related to how to get shippers as a freight broker, I'm probably not going to answer because this is very specific. I mean, I may try to if we have time, but I have a feeling I'm going to have a lot of questions about how to get shippers as a freight broker, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to ask questions, but I want you to be very specific with your question. Okay. Don't just say, what do I say on a cold call? Or, or how do I get shippers? Or try to be specific, because if you're too general, it's very hard for me to answer your question. So try to be as specific as you can about your exact question. So give it a little bit of thought. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to invite you to enter those questions in the chat box. All you got to do is reply in the chat box, in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're at. All I need you to do is hit those questions up, and I will gladly try to answer. So now is your chance to answer those questions, okay? Or ask those questions, I should say. And I will do my absolute best. I can't promise that I'm going to have the answers to all of your questions, but I will do my absolute best. If I don't have the answer, I'll try to direct you in the right direction, okay? All right, so I'm going to grab a drink. And let's hear some questions, people. You're awfully quiet today. Awfully quiet. I guess I probably shouldn't stir the pot, because I have a feeling I'm going to get a whole bunch of questions, which is usually what happens. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for logging in. Thank you so much for joining me live. If you haven't heard, or wherever you're catching this in the replay, if you are on replay, make sure you hit me up in the comments with #replay. I love to hear from my replay folks. I know that sometimes it's very hard to catch this in the middle of the day, so we do offer this on replay. Okay, here's the first question, and it's a very common question from Ashley Patterson, MBA. Congratulations. What time of day is the best to approach shippers, and what days? Okay, good question. So let's start with the best days to approach. So I would tell you you have to approach shippers every day, 5 days a week. You have to be prospecting every day. So even if I tell you the best days, I'm not telling you not to prospect on those other days. What I'm telling you is that you may have to prospect harder on those days in order to get the same sort of results. Okay, so let me qualify that up front. So the best days to prospect are probably Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. You can imagine Mondays and Fridays as a shipping manager are very challenging. They're more challenging than any other day of the week, typically. So the hardest days for a shipping manager on Monday and Friday. So that's when it's going to be the hardest for you to get their attention. So I would tell you the best days to prospect are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Now, the best times to prospect, the same thing applies. If I tell you X time, it doesn't mean I don't want you calling throughout the day, because I've made cold calls and sent cold emails and done meetings and done Zooms anywhere between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Now, that's a wide range of hours. In most cases, you are going to get contacts in the shipping department and the logistics department. Most contacts are going to be taken between 8 and 4. Okay. Usually between 8 and 4. That's the time when they're in the office. Now, the exception to that, and here's a little bit of a hack. If you're having a hard time getting hold of a potential prospect between 8 and 4, then what you might want to do is try to call them a little bit before, 30 minutes before, like 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, or call them a little bit later, maybe 4:30, 5, or even 5:30. Because what you'll find is at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, before the bells, let's call it 8 and 4. There's a bell at 8 and a bell at 4, right? Kind of like the old Fred Flintstone cartoon, right? So if you call before the bell, before everything gets crazy, before the phone starts ringing, before they starting to get pulled in a million directions, sometimes you can get a hold of them early. So 7:30 might not be a bad play, and 4:35, 5:30 might not be a bad play if you're having a hard time getting a hold of a prospect. But the best days and times, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, typically between 8 and 4. If you're having a hard time, call a little bit before that. That would be my suggestion. If you're also having a hard time getting a hold of a prospect, sometimes you might find you can get a hold of them Saturdays, believe it or not. Now, not all shipping managers work on Saturdays, But if you're having a hard time getting a hold of a prospect, a big prospect that you think is important, it's worth it to try to make a few calls early to mid morning on a Saturday, because they may have to be in there playing catch up on paperwork, playing catch up on shipments. And some shippers actually ship 7 days a week. So most of it happens Monday through Friday. So I hope that answers your question, but that's a great question to start with. Thank you so much, Ashley. That was a great question. Thank you so much for leading. All right. So let's jump into the next one here. Let's see. Let me scroll down looking for some questions here. Okay, so here's a very common question from Rajinder Kaur, and it is how to pick freight to start with, produce, steel. So you're asking the question, if I'm not misunderstanding your question, is how do you pick your freight niche? How do you pick your niche as a freight broker? So I teach 4 basic strategies that you can use to pick your niche. Before I give you those strategies, what I want you to understand is if you have experience in a specific industry, for example, if you're coming from the steel industry, or you're coming from the produce industry, or you're coming from the pharmaceutical industry, that can always be a great place to start because you have connections, you have experience, you have knowledge, you've got a lot of things going for you. So things you have experience with in your past may be a great place to start. Now, let me give you the 4-pronged strategy for picking your niche. Number 1, you can pick it by equipment type. So for example, if you want to focus in on just vans like I did when I first got started, you could only focus on van freight. If you want to focus on refrigerated, meaning things that need to be temperature controlled, you can focus in on refrigerated freight. If you want to focus in on flatbed freight or heavy haul or power only, or, other types of equipment. If you want to focus in on a specific niche, you can focus in on that niche based on equipment. That's a great place to start because it narrows you down, right? The second way you can do it is based on industry. So you can focus in on the produce industry. You can focus in on the steel industry. You can focus in on the pharmaceutical industry. You can focus in on oil and gas. There's all kinds of different industries out there, right? That you can focus in on. I think that would be a great way to do it. That's number 2. Number 3 is you can focus in on a geography. Now, a geography, what I mean is you can narrow it down to what I did was a region. So when I first started, here's a perfect example. I'm located in Buffalo, New York. So I focused in on the Northeast. So if freight picked up in New York, PA, New Jersey, all the way up through New England, okay, if it picked up in that region and went west or south, that was my niche, but it had to be on a van, okay? So that's a region. So you can focus in on a region, you can focus in on a lane, you can focus in on some sort of geography, right? So you could say Northeast to the Midwest, you could say Pacific Northwest outbound, you could say Texas outbound or Texas inbound, whatever you want. You could focus in on it based on geography, right? So that's number 3. And 4th is what I call a hybrid. Now, a hybrid is where you would pick one of the other 3 and then you would combine one of the first 3. So for example, I told you a little bit of story when I first started back in 2003. My niche was Northeast outbound van freight. So you can see I picked geography and I picked equipment type. You could do the exact same thing. I could have done the exact same thing with flatbed, but I chose van to start with at that time. So those are the ways that I teach to pick your freight broker niche. And again, understand something. Just because you start in a specific niche, let's say it's a small niche, doesn't mean that that's the only niche you can pursue throughout your career. The way I did it was very simple. We started with vans Northeast outbound, and then eventually we progressed into refrigerated Northeast outbound and flatbed Northeast outbound. And then we picked some other geography and we started moving some freight in the Southeast. And then we started moving some freight out of the Midwest. And then all of a sudden we had freight moving everywhere, but that was years later. But I'm telling you now that the important thing is that you have to niche down. Don't make the mistake of trying to be everything to everybody. It's a surefire way to fail. Okay. So I want you to niche down, use one of those 4 strategies that I shared with you, and I think that'll help. Good question. Okay, so Sean has a question. How long do we have before driverless trucks take over the market? Well, I'm going to tell you, they've been talking about driverless trucks for 10, 15 or more years, 15 or more years, probably, and if I can recall. And they have yet to even make the smallest dent. Now, eventually, I think some states will allow driverless trucks, but there are a lot of questions on safety. There are a lot of questions that are wide open still about the efficacy and the safety of driverless trucks. Now, it's a little different when you have a driverless vehicle that, say, for example, I bought a Tesla that doesn't require me to, to drive the car. I have to be in there, but doesn't require me to do that. There's a big difference between that and a fully automated driverless truck. So I'm not saying never, but I'm not saying anytime soon. Okay. I know that Elon Musk and these other people like to go out there and promote that they're going to have all these driverless trucks. Here's why they're doing it. I'm going to tell you right now. They're looking for PR. They're trying to justify all the money they're raising, and they're trying to raise more money. So they've got to sell a lot of hype. Now, again, there's a lot of hurdles they have to overcome, but here's the good news. The good news for freight brokers is it doesn't matter if you have a driverless truck. You're still brokering loads to carriers. We don't broker loads to drivers. We broker loads to carriers. So even if you're a freight broker and all the trucks were fully driverless, you're still going to have to talk to the dispatcher. You're still going to have to do rate confirmations. Carriers are still going to need brokered loads. That doesn't change the situation. Okay. So what I want you to understand is small carriers are going to have a very hard time, number one, complying and fitting into that world. Okay. So unless the United States, unless the US government and everybody who runs the FMCSA wants to see a huge shortage of equipment, right? And and they want to see a lot of people go unemployed, right? They want to see a lot of drivers go unemployed. I don't think they're going to push this that hard. Could it be 10, 15, 20 years before it becomes really commonplace? Possibly. But again, each state has their own right to legislate on the safety level. And I know there's a bunch of states that are very, very concerned about driverless vehicles. The last part of that is I think it's going to be fairly limited. I think driverless vehicles will be long haul predominantly, much like rail is. It'll probably be more long haul freight, but you'll find shorter regional freight will continue to be driven by actual physical drivers. So I hope that helps. But again, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm just giving you my 2 cents, but it is a good question. So I hope that helps. Trevor asks, is it a good idea to join UIIA, Uniform Intermodal Interchange Access, based out of Long Beach, California, if you want your niche to be intermodal freight agent? I'm not familiar with UIIA. We were what's called an IMC. We were an intermodal marketing company, my brokerage. So that means we had contracts direct with CSX. We had contracts direct with all the major railroads, Norfolk Southern, and all the major railroads. Okay, BNSF. And so we were an intermodal marketing company. Now, I'm not sure I recall anything about the UIIA, but if it's an organization that's dedicated to supporting the intermodal marketing, industry, then it's probably not a bad idea to take a look at that. I don't know a lot about it, so I can't really represent whether it's a good idea or not. Usually those organizations are good organizations for networking. Maybe you can gather some additional insight about the industry. Maybe they've got some inside scoop and news Maybe they can help support you with some specific training. Maybe there's some things they can do there, but I'm not familiar with that specifically. But in general, if you are going to get involved in any niche, it's always a good idea to take a look at resources in that niche. And that's a perfect example of what Trevor's saying. So good question and good luck. All right, let me just scroll through the questions. There's a ton of questions. Holy cow. Okay, so Janessa asks, when calling shippers, do we ask to speak to a specific department or person? All right. So the department you're going to be talking to is going to be shipping, transportation, or logistics, typically the shipping department. Now, my suggestion is not to necessarily ask for the shipping department. What you might want to do is to do a little bit of research in advance, which is what I teach, okay? Which is to do a little bit of research and find out who the shipping manager is, who the logistics manager is, who the warehouse manager is. So in sales, when you're trying to get through the gatekeeper and get to the right person, it's always better to ask for them by name, okay? It creates a sense of familiarity, and you are going to get screened less if you ask for them by name than if you were to just ask for the shipping department. They may say, what's this in regards to? And then they may try to screen you out or filter you out or just send you to a voicemail. But if you ask specifically for Joe Smith, could you just patch me through to Joe Smith in shipping? And then all of a sudden now they just fire you through because they think you know him or her or whatever the case may be. That's going to decrease the likelihood of you getting screened out. So typically you're going to be calling on the shipping department, the logistics department, and you're going to try to call on the shipping manager, logistics manager, transportation manager, freight manager, warehouse manager. Those are the typical titles that you're going to be looking for. So I hope that helps. Oh, and by the way, I'm going to give you a little bit of a teaser here. Okay. I said that we have a big announcement. So the big announcement is this. Last year, I launched my Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program. That is a 5-week coaching program where I coach you personally on my entire Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, which is where I take that piece of my brain and I transplant it into your head. We talk about everything and anything related to, what do we got? It's, anything from mindset to filling your sales funnel to proper follow-up strategies, objection handling, how to close the sale, how to get referrals, how to retain your clients, customer retention, as well as freight broker sales technology, right? And how to leverage that. So this is a course and a coaching program. Now, that program, we've had over 300 students in that program. We've had a couple hundred people that have actually done a post program survey, meaning after they went through the 5-week program, after they went through the entire course, they actually did a survey. And on that survey, they were asked to rate the program from 1 to 10. Okay. 1 being horrible, 10 being perfect. I was hoping for an 8. I would have settled for a 7, but we got a 9.5 plus. Okay. On the program. So it's the best program I've ever put together. And that program, right now, as of this morning, is only open to people that were on the wait list. You probably heard me talking about the wait list for quite a while now. You had to get on the wait list. You had to get on the wait list because it's going to sell out. But I'm going to make an exception for everybody here that's watching this live. Okay. So here's what I want you to do. I'm going to leave this up on the screen really quick. If you are interested in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, you're interested in me helping you and teaching you and guiding you through the entire process, go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA, stands for Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. That's going to give you all the details. Okay. Now you will be able to enroll, but it's going to be very limited with that link because I'm not going to allow everybody to enroll. I promised that I would only allow the waitlist people to enroll first. We've got seats are limited to 100 people. And I know we filled a ton of those spots already, right? So if you are serious and you really want to get involved and you really want to get enrolled, you got to check that out now. I'm going to continue on with the Q&A, but I want you to understand that is the announcement. I couldn't hold until the end. I was going to try to wait all the way to the end, but I couldn't. I wanted to let everybody know that. But I am going to jump back into the Q&A, and then I'll bring this back up. But if you are serious and you really want to dig in, this is where I can coach you, right? In an environment, number one, you get lifetime access to the entire online training program. Plus you get me coaching you for 5 full weeks. Okay. Teaching you everything I know about this, not in a format like this, but where we actually are on a call, a live Zoom call, and I can help coach and implement you through the entire process. Okay. So you can check that out at the link below, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. All right. So let's jump back into the questions, and I'll pull that link back up. But in the meantime, just wanted to let you guys know that. Okay, I'm scrolling. Hold on a minute. Okay, so if you're looking to gather some sales intelligence to find out who the shipping manager is and it's not on their website, go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn is the best place to gather sales intelligence about your prospect. It's a free LinkedIn is the world's largest professional networking site. It's free. You don't need to pay to have an account there. But yeah, so go to LinkedIn. You can search by company name. You can search by geography. You can search by a person's name. It's very granular. You can hopefully find them, and then you'll identify who that person is. And then you'll be able to use that in your cold outreach, whether that be via phone, whether that be email, or whether that be LinkedIn or otherwise. And that's all a big part of what I teach in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Okay. I teach that entire process. I teach the multi-touch point outreach strategy. I teach how to do that. I teach that follow-up sequence that helps to significantly increase your conversion rate. Okay. So I hope that helps. So good question, Paul. Okay, so question from Brandy. So I'm out of training and have been cold calling and sending emails for the last 2 weeks. Nothing so far. What can I do to get shippers? Trying to keep my head up, but feeling a little discouraged. Okay, so, without being able to speak to you, Brandy, it's going to be very hard to answer your specific questions because I'd have to ask you a whole bunch of questions. But I'm going to go just from a general format of having coached hundreds and hundreds of people on this topic and train thousands of people to be brokers. I'm going to kind of assume that you fit into that same category. And the biggest problem that I hear people, that I see people have when trying to get their first shipper is a couple of things. Number one, they're very nervous and they sound like reading. They sound like they're reading and they lack confidence. They lack what I call verbal posture. Okay. I, on the other hand, am the exact opposite, right? I have lots of confidence and lots of verbal posture. You see me up here talking, right? So one of the big issues that I find is that shippers can sense if you are nervous. They can sense if you're not confident. They can sense if you're reading. So that's one thing to take a look at. Number two, your sales pitch, your cold call pitch is focused all about you and not about them. So you get on the phone and you start vomiting on them about features, and you start talking about your company and how great it is. And you start talking about all these things, and it's not about them, right? You need to make it about them. That's what's important to them. They don't care about you. They don't care about your, any of that. What they care about is them. What can you do for them? What pain can you solve? What problem or challenge can you help them fix, right? So, that's a big part of it. Don't make it about you, make it about them. That's another thing you might want to take a look at in your presentations. Number three, you sound just like everybody else. And what I mean by that is a lot of people will call up and say, hi, my name is Dennis. I'm a freight broker. I wonder if I can move your freight. You sound just like everybody else. So because you sound just like everybody else, they're going to treat you like everybody else, which is they're going to give you the Heisman and they're going to tell you, I don't do business with brokers, or I'm not interested, or I don't have time, or no, thank you, or just hang up, whatever the case may be. So you have to be different. If you haven't heard me say this before, different is better than better. It's easier to be different than it is to be better. Let me explain what I mean by that. It's hard to be better at pricing, it's rates. It's hard to be better at communications. It's harder to be better at service. It's harder to be better at all of those things, right? But because it's a no-win game, someone's always better. So it's hard to be better, but it's not that hard to be different. So when you sound different or you take a different approach, you will get that prospect's attention, because the hardest part of sales is just getting their attention. You've heard the old adage, AIDA, attention, interest, decision, right? All that, right? So the hardest part, you got to get their attention in the first 15 seconds. This is a big part of what I cover in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, which is how to create a winning sales hook. Again, for those of you that are interested in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, you can check that out at the link below. But you have to learn how to get their attention. You've got about 5, 10, maybe 15 seconds to get their attention, so that they will then give you another minute or two for you to do a quick presentation and then to hook them, right? So those are a few things that I want you to consider. The other thing is that, what you lack in experience, you can make up for in numbers. Here's what I know. When I first started in sales, I was terrible. I sucked. I was the worst salesperson they had ever hired. This is back in like 1992, okay? The year I was a senior in college. Some of you have probably heard that story. I was the worst salesperson they had ever hired. But what I lacked in experience, I made up for in numbers, and I emulated other successful people that were around me that had already done it. There was no coaching program. There was no sales accelerator. None of that existed. But I did buy some books. I bought some cassettes. I bought some training programs. I immersed myself in those programs, and out the other end, I came within about 6 months. I became one of the top salespeople in the company. And then from there, went on to start my own businesses and have been an entrepreneur since 1994. So it's been almost 30 years I've been an entrepreneur. And so, listen, if you're struggling with this, I get it. This is the reason why I put together the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator program, exactly for people like you. You've gotten through step 1. You've gotten your freight broker authority, or you've become a freight broker agent and you're ready to go, but you're struggling to get your first customers. That's the reason why I put this entire program together. Okay. I just launched it last year. I resisted for 10 years, mainly because I knew how hard it was going to be, how much time it was going to take. You got to understand, I've got hundreds of hours of my time into creating this program. This is the best program I've ever put together, hands down, bar none. Okay. And all the users agree as well, 9.5 plus out of 10 rating. So if you're struggling with sales, I just highly, highly suggest that you check out the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. You can see the link there. Let's jump to the next question. Thank you for asking. All right. Okay. So Vivian Roman asks, is there a hidden website with listed shipper contracts? No. There is no website that you're going to go to that's going to give you shippers, right? It's just not going to happen. So it requires sales. It requires prospecting. It requires outreach. And yeah, I know it's hard. It's hard. Every one of my students that is now making 6 or 7 figures said the exact same thing on the front end. Is there a way that I can hack the system and go direct without having to make cold calls? Is there a way that I can hack the system without doing prospecting or sales? Is there a way that I can cheat the system and get to the top of the list? The answer is no. It's a process. But here's the good news. You have to learn to enjoy the process. Right now, you're new and you're struggling, right? And most of you that are listening to this now. And I get it. Cash flow is important. You got to land that first customer. You got to start generating some revenue. So all I can tell you is this: take some of what I've talked about today, so the questions that we've answered today, and try to extrapolate what you need to hear today. And if that's not enough, check out the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Again, I don't know any other way to really do a deep dive and teach you that piece of my brain that can help you to get shippers. But the only way I can really do that, I can't do it in this format, right? I can't do it in this format. I could put together a video on exactly what to say and it wouldn't matter, because it's not just what you say, because what you say is going to be different. You have to learn how to create what I call freight broker sales hooks, right? You have to create a sales hook. And that sales hook can be used over the phone. It can be used face-to-face. It can be used in email. It can be used via LinkedIn. It can be used through direct mail even. But you need to learn how to create a sales hook, how to implement that sales hook, how to get their attention. And then from getting their attention, you need to learn how to qualify and ask good questions to, number one, show them that you're very educated, and number two, to gather that intelligence so that you can present a solution to them that makes you a little bit different, but more valuable, and makes them willing to give you an opportunity. Okay. So that's an example in summary. Again, I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but if you guys are serious about building your freight brokerage or your freight agency and you don't get involved in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, I'm sorry. I don't feel bad for you. I've made it as cheap as I possibly could, right? I had two options there. One was I could make it as cheap as possible and give it out to as many people as possible and not be able to provide a whole lot of support, or I could raise the price a little bit, have a smaller group, which I've limited to 100 people. And then I could spend a lot of time with those people over a 5-week program. So you're going to get my undivided attention and I'll be your sales coach. Okay. So I hope that helps. All right. All right. And if I've answered your question through the questions of others today, I'm probably not going to answer your question because I've already asked it, even though it may not be the exact same question. A lot of times I'll expand on the answers to my questions. Okay. So here's a good question from Lakina. After making contact with a shipper and they agree to go forward, how long does it usually take before that conversation and you being able to pick your loads? Okay. So I'm going to assume, based on having a lot of these conversations, that you had a conversation with a prospect. The conversation went well. They said they were open and interested in talking to you. And one of two things happened or didn't happen. Either they gave you some lanes to quote on, and you've quoted those lanes and you've agreed to a price. In that scenario, once you've agreed to a rate and some lanes, then all you're waiting for at that point, if they've accepted you and you're going to be the primary on that lane, all you're waiting for is that shipment to come up. A good question to ask is, what's the volume on that shipment? Is that something that's daily, weekly, monthly? You can inquire. And then at that point, you're just waiting for that shipment to get tendered to you so you can start moving those loads. If they have not asked you for rates yet, okay, if they've not asked you for rates, they said, hey, you sound like an interesting guy. Yeah, we need some help and we need some help. If they haven't given you lanes yet, you need to get some specific lanes. Anything else between now and then, paperwork-wise, is really irrelevant, because if you don't line up rate-wise, if you don't line up and being able to support and service with the capacity that they need, the equipment that they need, and the rates that they need, then, or that you can agree to, then at that point, it's really all the rest of it's a moot point. So if you're at this point now and you haven't done rates, my suggestion is for you to get on the phone with them or to try to get a list of lanes, a bid package, a lane package, or some of the lanes that maybe they're struggling with or need help with, so that you can at that point start doing some due diligence on capacity in those lanes, rates in those lanes, the carriers are in those lanes, so you could provide some quotes. And then at that point, you can start the negotiations as to whether they're going to move on with you and then take you on as an actual primary broker on one of those lanes. And process is going to convert into freight. Okay. So I hope that helps, but I wanted to kind of funnel through that. If you have already done the quotes and you guys have negotiated and they've already accepted you as a broker on that lane, you need to find out what the volume is and find out how many shipments that's going to equate to for you. And it's very reasonable to ask that, because you want to make sure you're prepared and have the capacity. Maybe they're going to say you do 1 a week or 1 a day or 5 a day, whatever the case may be. But you need to make sure you're prepared on that before they pull the switch. And then the other side of it is if you haven't done rates yet, if you haven't done a bid package, if you haven't done a lane package, if they haven't gotten specific on lanes, at that point, this is when you need to start getting specific on those lanes. Okay. So I hope that helps. Okay, so Forhad asks, how would you differentiate between freight forwarder and freight brokers? Would you recommend international freight forwarding, more like ship, air, and land, cross-border, check-in, et cetera? Okay, so the difference between a freight broker and a freight forwarder, okay, is that the only real difference between a freight broker and a freight forwarder is a freight broker, a freight forwarder can take possession of the freight and actually has primary cargo coverage that they are going to need as a freight forwarder. Okay. So that's the big deal. You need a slightly different license. It's not a freight broker FB license. It's an FF, right? So you're going to need a freight forwarder license. And that's for the United States. So they can take possession of the freight. So they might warehouse it, or they might pick it up with their truck and bring it to a warehouse and cross-dock it onto another truck. So freight forwarders are a little different than brokers, but the main difference is they can take possession of the freight. Now, as a freight broker, typically most freight brokers are focusing in on domestic freight. So things that are moving in and out of the US or in and out of North America. So it might go from, if it's inter-US, or it might be going from US to Canada or Canada to US or US to Mexico or Mexico to US, but it's basically North American freight. The majority of that's going to be inter-US, some point in the US to some point in the US, full truckload, partials, vans, things of that nature. Okay. Partials, flatbeds, or I'm sorry, full truckloads, partials, LTL, right? So that's what most freight brokers focusing on. Now, if you're an international freight forwarder, typically what you're dealing with there is you're dealing with air and ocean freight. So you're doing international air and international ocean freight. And at that point, as a freight forwarder, you will have a contract with rail lines, with airlines, and with NVOCCs, basically companies that manage all of the container freight, right? So you could become your own NVOCC, but ultimately you're probably going to have a contract with either an NVOCC or one of the ship lines direct. But those are probably pretty hard to get, but you're dealing with international freight. So you're dealing with things that are international air, or they're coming in and out of a port in the United States. So those are the biggest differences. And that's really what you asked for. So I hope that helps. PRS Logistics, do you have a course or any referral on how to become an IMC? I do not have a course on becoming an intermodal marketing company. I don't think that one exists. When we became an IMC, I hired a consultant. I paid him a ton of money to come in and help navigate that. When we became an IMC, that was a long time ago. I don't. I'll try to rack my brain, and if I do come up with it, I'll try to cover it in a future episode, right? So, or maybe if you message me on Facebook, I can try to get back to you. Right now, nothing's coming to mind. The best place to find the person's name is usually through Google on their website and or on LinkedIn. Those are the best places to find the shipping manager, logistics manager, transportation manager, traffic manager. Jacqueline, congratulations. Jacqueline, thank you so much. I won't let you down. I promise this will be a great experience for you. Now that you've enrolled, you'll get an email where you can activate your account. You'll get instant access to the entire course, the entire program online. You'll also get an email where you can sign up for the weekly calls. Those start next week. Okay. So they start a week from now. You'll be able to get access to that. If you have questions, just send it to support@freightbrokerbootcamp.com and we will definitely help you. But congratulations on enrolling. And for others, if you guys are interested in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, getting enrolled, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. All the details are there. Okay. All the details are there. Now, I can tell you this. All right. I'm going to be very upfront with you. I fully planned and was committed to increasing the price to $1,997. That was my plan up until about 4 days ago. I was going to increase the price to $1,997 one-time fee. But that's not what it cost. Matter of fact, it's not even half that. Okay? So, click the link, check it out. It's not free, but it's worth 10x whatever you charge for, whatever I charge for it. I promise you. I could easily sell this for a couple $1,000, right? And I'd be able to spend even more time with a smaller group of people. But I think you guys will really enjoy it. You will never regret the investment. We've never had one person that's went through the course that said that they regretted it or that it was a waste of money or that they didn't get huge, immense 10-time value out of it. Okay? So that's all I can suggest for you guys. All right, so I'm scrolling through here. Okay, so Joseph Halt asks, I'm a brand new agent. Congrats. My broker wants me to put together a 500 plus shipper list to start calling. I don't even know where to begin. Drove OTR for 6 years, but that was 5 years ago. Can you help? Okay, Joseph. So you need to identify your niche. I talked about that early in this Q&A. You need to figure out what your niche is. Once you figure out your niche, then at that point you can, if you're a Freight Broker Bootcamp member, right? If you're a paid member of Freight Broker Bootcamp, you have access to an entire shipping directory of over 100,000 shippers. Okay. Now, they're not all going to be in your niche, but I can tell you there's over 100,000 shippers if you are part of the Freight Broker Bootcamp startup course. All right. That's just part of the program. If you are not part of that program, you can go to places like LinkedIn. You can go to places like ThomasNet. There are some free directories online where you can search based on industry or based on different geography or based on different specific needs or the niche that you're in. That would be my suggestion to you. But first you got to identify your niche, then make the list, and then you can start calling. And my suggestion is don't wait till you have 500 to start calling, because you're not going to make, when you're first starting out, likelihood is you're probably not going to make that many calls per day. But it is a good idea to try to get at least a couple hundred on a list so that you can get started, get the ball rolling, because you're going to need to learn, right? Here's the facts. Joseph, on your first cold call, you're probably not going to be that good, and that's okay. But by your 10th call and your 50th call and your 100th call, you will be dramatically better. The problem is you got to touch first before you can touch second. And so I can't give you a hack to slide home, but I do get your point. Congratulations on getting your agent position. And I look forward to hearing back from you after you get your first shipper. Sleep Easy Sounds has a question. Hi, Dennis. I'm literally about to buy the course. I'm assuming you're Freight Broker Bootcamp, but live in the UK. Does this limit me in any way? And will I still be able to get the factoring companies to work with me? Okay. So if you're in the UK, here's what I can tell you. I've had students that have bought Freight Broker Bootcamp in 15 plus different countries. And what I've found is that freight brokering is virtually, the process of brokering freight is virtually the same in every country. Okay? The methodology and the things that I teach in the training are virtually the same in every country. Now, laws are different, regulations are different, things of that nature. I can't represent that, and I can't do a course for every country. The Freight Broker Bootcamp is based on the United States, but I know a lot of people in other countries who have used that course to start their business. Now, if your customers are in the US or you're focusing on US freight, then it's definitely not an issue at all. If you're focused on the UK, again, you may want to do some research on the specific regulations. If they do have trucking and they do have freight brokerage in your country, then typically factoring is going to be a part of the process, because most carriers cannot finance their business without factoring, whether they're doing business with brokers or shippers or whoever they're doing business with. Again, I can't represent every factoring company, but I hope that helps. And again, we have a 60-day, 100% money back guarantee on the Freight Broker Bootcamp program. Okay. So on the Freight Broker Bootcamp Startup Program, we have a 60-day unconditional money back guarantee. Okay. On the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, you get a 14-day unconditional money back guarantee, because that's a coaching program. So I can't do 60, right? The program will be over by then. So, but I do give a 14-day on the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, unconditional guarantee. Hope that helps. Okay, so Philip Roldan asked, do you recommend using a factoring company? I recommend using a factoring company if you need a factoring company, and 9 out of 10 new brokers are going to need a factoring company. So most brokers use factoring out of necessity. Now, factoring to me is not a long-term solution. Here's why. You get factoring when you first started because either you don't have capital or you don't have credit, which is fine. That's where everybody starts. But it's fairly expensive. You know, if you're paying 3 to 5%, depending upon the factoring company, to factor invoices, you know, that gets pretty expensive. Eventually, after the first couple years of being in business, you will be able to secure your own business credit line. Once you've established some history with a bank, after your first couple years, you should be able to set up your own revolving credit line with that bank. They're going to see your deposits. They're going to see your history. They're going to see your average balances. They're going to see your volume. They're going to see your growth, and they're going to want to lend you money. Trust me, the way they make money is lending you money. Okay. So they're going to want to lend you money. So after the first couple of years, you'll be able to get your own credit line. And at that point, there's a very good chance you're not going to need factoring. Now, if you ever need factoring in the future, you can always pull it back in. But I think it's a short-term solution for the first couple of years to get started, to get positive cash flow, to build your credit, and to build the systems you need in order to be a viable business, and then go out and get your own credit line. So I hope that helps. Good question, Jamie. How do you get a shipper's attention? You have to be different. You cannot sound like every other freight broker and salesperson that's calling them. If you sound like everybody else, then you're going to get treated just like everybody else. So you have to be different. That's a big part of why in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, I teach how to create a compelling sales hook. There's an entire framework, an entire process that I teach for that, okay? That I teach in order to do that. It's a framework that teaches you exactly how to get your prospects' attention. This is the challenge that most salespeople have. It's the first 15 seconds of the sales call, because you're making a first impression, and that first impression is either good or bad. If it's bad, then they're gone. If it's good, you're going to buy enough time. You're going to get another 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes to do your presentation, to ask some good questions, and to continue to be different. And then at that point, that's now you've developed some basic rapport, and they're probably going to give you an opportunity to have a longer conversation at that point, or down the road, schedule some sort of a call. So the key is to be different. The key is to have something compelling and interesting to say. So for example, I'm going to give you an example, right? There's 2 examples. Freight Broker 1 calls up a prospect and says, hey, my name's Dennis. I'm with XYZ Logistics. We help companies like you move your freight. I was wondering if you need any help moving your truckload freight. That's scenario 1. That's what he's heard hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. Okay? That's what most freight brokers do. And most people think that that's right, but that's not right. Scenario B, okay? This is an example of how I teach to create a compelling sales hook, something that's different, okay? So before I called that prospect, I gathered some sales intelligence. I was on LinkedIn, I was on their website, and I noticed that they had recently acquired a company say they were in their niche or in their industry. In the last couple months, they had acquired a company. They had went out and spent tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to acquire another company, okay? To expand strategically or to add products or buy customers or whatever the case may be. They spent a lot of time and energy acquiring that company. And now they've got to integrate those two companies together. One of the hardest parts of integrating two companies together is the logistics department, is the shipping department, is the warehousing and inventory. That's one of the biggest issues when you acquire a company. So I know this is a challenge. I know that they've acquired this company. So I know they're going to experience a bunch of issues. So I call up and I say, hey, Joe, my name's Dennis Brown. Congratulations. I heard you guys just acquired XYZ. And I wait and he responds, oh, yeah, we just acquired that company. Well, listen, I know you're busy, but I just wanted to reach out really quick. With that acquisition, I know there are a whole host of challenges. Now, I've worked with different companies in the past on these challenges, and I was just curious. A lot of these challenges take a month or two, or maybe even 6 months to service their head. How are you handling some of the challenges associated with that acquisition? And I zip my lip. Now, I'm not going to go into what he says or where we go from there, but I want you to understand, do you see the difference between scenario A and scenario B? Do you see why scenario B, what I just gave you, was a compelling sales hook, right? And is different than anything else he's ever heard before? So that's a perfect example of how to be different and how different is better than better. Now, that doesn't guarantee me he's going to buy from me. It doesn't guarantee he's going to be my customer. What it guarantees is he's going to give me another minute or two to have a conversation with him. Because you asked, how do I get their attention? That's exactly how you get their attention. That's exactly the framework and what I teach in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. But you can't use that scenario, that example, with every prospect. But it's that methodology of creating a compelling sales hook. And then how and what questions to ask to navigate, and then how to overcome those objections and to finally close the sale. And then last but not least, obviously customer retention, because this is something that most freight brokers suck at. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of things in there in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. And again, I don't know how many people have enrolled. Let me just check really quick while we're live here. I think we've had a bunch of people that have enrolled. Yes, we have. My suggestion to you is get enrolled. I'm capping it at 100. Okay. So you have, I think the website says you have till Wednesday at maybe midnight, or 100. We're going to have the 100 sold out before Wednesday. I'm just letting you know. Okay. So get enrolled because I'm capping it at 100. That's all I can tell you. And for those of you that did get enrolled, okay. For example, for those of you that did get enrolled, like Ben, Shiloh, and Alicia, and Jamin, and Frank, and Trevor, and Jacqueline, or Jacqueline, and Kate, and Sergil, and Elizabeth, and Dalman, and Rashwan, all of you, congratulations. And I can't wait to meet you and work with you. Okay. Whew. Let's see. Okay, so here's a question from Tiger Lily. Can you explain the difference between the startup program and the sales accelerator? Freight Broker Bootcamp is my startup program. Had that program for over a decade, trained over 10,000 students. That is for people that are true startups that don't know how to get their freight broker authority, don't know how to become an agent, don't know how to do rates, don't know how to use load boards, don't know the fundamentals of being a broker. That's the startup program. That's usually step one. The Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is a freight broker sales training program. It is very specific to just sales. I can't include it in the bootcamp program because it's too advanced for most people that don't have those fundamentals unless they have past experience. So the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is number one, the bootcamp is an online course, right? Where you go online and you consume all the content and you get online support. The Freight Broker Sales Accelerator is a hybrid program. Number one, you get a course that's specific that teaches all of those different components, all the different modules and all the different components that make up a freight broker sale. For example, like mindset, filling your sales funnel, following up like a professional, how to handle objections, closing the sale without feeling like a dirty salesman, how to get an unlimited supply of referrals, customer retention, and modern sales technology to help you get more customers. That's the framework of what's covered in the program, right? In the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Now you have an online course you have lifetime access to for that. But I also incorporate 5 weeks of calls where I do a call every week for 5 weeks where I coach you, right? I coach you on this entire process. So throughout that training program, you're going to have questions. We jump on a Zoom call and I answer those questions, right? With you one-on-one. Now it's a group program, but I answer those questions one-on-one. So it'd be like me bringing you up on this screen and answering the question live. You can ask me the question. I can ask you some questions, and then I can help answer that question for you. Okay. So I hope that helps. Good question. Thanks for asking. Awesome. I think, yeah, the Freight Broker Bootcamp might be the best thing for you. Okay, so Danelle Smith says, how do you feel about paying for generated lead services and CRM, new broker? I think as a broker, you're going to need a CRM. Now, a CRM is a customer relationship management tool. It's basically a software, an online software that allows you to manage your sales funnel. And what I mean by that is you have leads, you have prospects, and you have customers. And there's a lot of data associated with them, their name and their phone number and their address and the conversations you've had and emails you've had and quotes you've done. And you have the CRM is a repository for sales data. I do think you're going to need that because it's very hard to run something like this on a spreadsheet. Okay. So, if you go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/blog and you type in Freight Broker software, I have an entire post that I did that covers all the software you need. I even recommend, I think, 5 or 6 different CRM programs on there that you could check out. So I hope that helps. Oh, as far as paying for generated lead service, as a startup, you could test it. It'll be pretty easy to test. If you've got a little bit of cash and you can afford it, it's pretty easy to test. It's probably not a bad idea to test it. Just be careful. There's a lot of shysters out there that'll promise you the world, and make sure it's specific to your niche. I think, in most cases, it's probably not going to have an ROI, but it might be something you want to test. I think personally, I would probably go out and get your own customers on your own first, because that's really going to be the most viable way for you to understand how to get a customer. Because if you always have to pay for a customer, the problem is that customer acquisition cost goes up. You may not be able to afford it. So again, it's something that might be worth testing, but past experience tells me that most of those guys are not going to work out. John Keith asks, is the Accelerator course going to be available in the future? It will be, but I don't know when. My summers get very busy. So in most cases, maybe next fall, maybe next spring. I'm not sure. I don't have a hard date for it. Realistically, it could be 6 months or more before I open this up. Once I fill the seats, it's closed. Nobody else can get enrolled. Okay. No matter how much you beg, no matter how much you plead, no matter how many emails you send me or Facebook messages you send me, you can't get enrolled. It happens every single time. Okay. The last time I had these same conversations, we sold the program out in 3 days. We had 100 people that we oversold the program in 3 days by a handful of people. That was my fault because I didn't close it down in time, but I didn't punish them. And invariably, I probably had 20 or 30 people that came to me in the week or month after that asked if they could get involved in the Sales Accelerator, and I had to tell them no. So get enrolled now. That's all I can tell you. But it will be available in the future. I just can't promise when. Good question. CI specialized heavy haul. Do you need a package for shippers to sign? You do not need a shipper broker contract in order to do business with a shipper. Now that might fly in the face of what a lot of people think, but you don't. I would tell you that probably 7 or 8 out of 10 of the shippers that we did business with did not require a contract, and or they had their own contract. Okay. As far as paperwork, The only thing you're really going to need to get from a shipper is a credit app of some sort so you can run credit and they agree to your credit terms. But do not let a contract slow you down with doing business with a shipper. Okay. The bill of lading is a contract in itself, right? So they are going to have to pay for the transport. The bill of lading is a contract and they can't get away from paying that. So ultimately, my suggestion to you is don't let a shipper broker contract slow you down. If a shipper has one, then you're going to have to, they may require you to sign it. If they don't have one and you're not, and you think that your broker shipper contract is going to slow things down, it's not required. My suggestion is just get a credit app and make sure they understand your credit terms and that you require payment in 30 days or less. And if there's any sort of penalties or anything for paying late. Okay. So that would be my suggestion. Good question. Cynthia Moore, is a CRM and generating a sales pipeline spreadsheet the same? No. Having a spreadsheet with a bunch of names and phone numbers on it is not the same as a CRM. A CRM allows you to keep all of the data, including all your contact information, including notes from all your conversations, including copies of emails that go back and forth, including the ability to schedule follow-ups and be reminded, including what's called sales automation for some CRMs that if this, then that, right? Sort of things that create sales automation where emails will automatically go out and things of that nature. So there's a lot of difference between a CRM and just a spreadsheet. Okay. Hope that helps, Cynthia. Chris Perrin, when is the accelerator course starting? You can enroll today. You can get full access to the program today. Okay. You'll get unlimited access to the online course. The actual first coaching call is next week. And then it's every week for 5 weeks. You'll get a notification on that on how to sign up for it and how to do all that. Okay. So I hope that helps. But listen, just a reminder, guys, if you're live on this, you have to be live on this because this link is going to go away. I promised my wait list people, I told everybody, you got to be on the wait list. You got to be on the wait list. You got to be on the wait list. And they waited patiently and they got on the wait list. We have a couple thousand people on that wait list. I sent the message this morning, okay, at like 9:13 a.m. to everybody on the wait list. And a bunch of people have enrolled. I don't know. We haven't hit the 100 yet, but I can tell you that I had no plans to offer this to you guys. But because we're doing this topic, which was the Ask Me Anything specific to how to get customers, which is very sales oriented, I decided for people that are live that you could get access to the Sales Accelerator before anybody else. I haven't even sent this to my email list. My email list is 60,000 people. Oh, I think it's 70,000 people. Okay. So it's going to sell out anyway, but because you guys joined me live, I wanted to give you a chance. All right. Some of you have been coming live. A lot of you are probably already on the wait list because you've been hearing me talk about it. But yeah, I just wanted to share that with you. I hope that makes sense. Rhonda, there's the link, right? There's the link to the Sales Accelerator. Oh, it just sent you to the wait list. Hold on. Let me test it. Nope. It's not sending you to the wait list. It sends you directly to the page, right? So I just checked it and it sends me directly to the page. You may have to, if you were already on the wait list, maybe you got to refresh it, but I just did it. I just tested it live and it works fine. It brings you directly to the sales page where you can see all the information. And then you can click the link where it says, click here to enroll now. It'll bring you to the checkout page. And then from there, that's how you'll enroll. Did everybody else hit that link, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA, and let me know that it's bringing you through to the sales page, not the wait list. Let everybody know. Let me know because I just tested it and it worked fine for me. I don't know why it wouldn't be working for you guys because it's the exact same link. So hit me up in the comments and let me know that it does work. Because we're going to do a few more questions and then we're going to wrap it up. It's not working. That doesn't make any sense. Let me Try in a separate window. Yep. It works fine for me. I just did it again and it worked absolutely fine for me. I don't know. Is anybody else not able to access it? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. Here's the direct link. If anybody's, that's a redirect link. So here's the direct link. You'd have to type all this in, but this is the direct link, or you can maybe copy and paste it or something, but that's the direct link to the page. Okay. So the other link is a redirect. So maybe if you're having a hard time with a redirect, but that's the link. Okay. All right. So let's go back and see if there's any, hit me up with any other questions you guys had here. Yeah. I don't know why it's doing that. That's strange. All right. You could try this one also. Try this one, freightbrokerbootcamp.com/enroll. I just tested that one and it worked fine also. I have no idea why you guys are having a hard time. And just know that that other link, the direct link that I sent, which is the dennisbrown.com, lpages.com, FBA. That's why I didn't send that link, because it's a hard link to copy. But yeah, you should be good. Okay. It worked. Here's the direct link. Their other is a redirect. Yes, it's a redirect. Exactly. That's what I was trying to say to you. So if you put it in, it should just redirect you directly to that page. Okay. Okay, good. So it's working for everybody. Okay, good. You guys had me a little nervous there. You had me a little nervous because I knew it had to be working for somebody, because there's a bunch of people that have gotten enrolled since I went live here. So yeah. Yeah. So congratulations to Ben, Alicia, Jamin, Frank, Trevor. Okay. Everybody who's gotten enrolled. All right. So last few questions. What do we got? If I missed your question, type it back in the comments and let me know. Yeah. Maybe it's a antivirus thing or something, a redirect from the browser. You're right. I have to think of that in the future with redirect. Sorry about that. If you guys have any final questions, let me know. All right. So here's a question from C1 Specialized Hauling. The carrier package, should it be more than just their information? Do you mean the carrier packet that they're sending to you, or do you mean the broker carrier packet that you're sending to them? Okay. I'm not quite sure. You need to clarify that for me. Clarify that for me if you would. C1 Specialized. Let me know. Be a little bit more specific on your question if you could. And again, you're going to need to be live on here. When I close this out, I know I'm going to get a bunch of people that are going to send me messages all pissed off because they didn't get enrolled. But I'm reserving the bulk of these 100 seats for the people that were on the wait list. Okay. So if you don't get enrolled now, it's okay. It's okay. It's totally okay. But I want you to understand, I'm first dibs as to the wait list. So I expected maybe a small number of people on here to get in, and that I would accommodate them. Just because you guys did join me live, even though you didn't get a chance to get on the wait list, because I have a lot of new people. Okay. So C1 Specialized says the one we send to them. Well, the one you're going to send to the carriers is you're going to send them a copy of your broker carrier agreement. You're going to send them any other basic information about you, right? It's mainly the broker carrier agreement. Maybe you'll send them if you have any other credentials or anything like that. They don't really need your broker authority because they're going to look that up online. They're going to need an information sheet that includes your, the correct billing address, the correct MC number, your phone numbers, contact information for billing and everything. My suggestion to you is C1 Specializes, go to my YouTube channel. Okay. Let me see it. Where is it? Let me pull it up. Go to my YouTube channel. Okay. YouTube.com/freight brokers. Subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. And then in my channel, you can search for videos that are about freight broker carrier packet for freight brokers, right? So freight broker carrier packet, right? And I walk through an entire demonstration on how to put that together. I actually have a live one on the screen, and I walk through the different components of it and what you might want to include in that. Now, not everybody's packets are identical, right? Some packets are a few pages, some packages are much more. So, but the main thing is you're going to have to send them your broker carrier agreement. They're going to need to read and sign that agreement, send it back to you. They have to agree to those terms. You also have to make sure that you give them information on how they can send you their insurance, because you're going to need their insurance. You're probably going to want to get added as a cert holder on their insurance. So there's a little bit of a process there, but it goes through all that. So if you go to my YouTube channel, there's an entire video there about carrier setup packets. Hey, Mike, do you have material on what's needed to get started after you have a bond and LLC? Yeah. Getting your LLC and your bond and getting your freight broker authority is probably about 5% of my freight broker bootcamp course. It's a very small percentage of the course. There's so much more that you need to understand and know about becoming a freight broker or freight agent beyond just getting your freight broker authority. You don't need my course to just get your freight broker authority. You can go to the FMCSA website. You can look at all the requirements, and it'll walk you through how to get your freight broker authority. Okay. That's not why people buy my course. It's a small part of why, but it's 5% of the program. The rest of it is everything else, whether that be setting up your home office, whether that's doing rating, whether that's using different software, whether that's load boards, whether that's, customer acquisition strategies, whether that's dealing and developing a relationship with carriers. All those sorts of things are the rest of it, right? So that's the rest of the program, the rest of the course. Legal requirements, all those sorts of things, right? What can go wrong? Invoicing, financial management, all that sort of stuff. That's all the rest of the program. Okay. So you can check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. If you guys are interested in the startup program, okay, if you're interested in the startup program and you're just looking to get started, you can go to, let me see something. Hold on. Yep. You can go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money back guarantee. Sign up, kick the tires for 60 days. If you're not happy with the program or the support, send us a message. We'll refund your money 100%. That's the Freight Broker Bootcamp startup program. Okay. We have a gold membership and we have a platinum lifetime. A gold membership is a 1-year membership. Our platinum membership is a lifetime membership and lifetime support. So you can check that out. Again, we have trained over 10,000 students, been in business over a decade, and we offer a 60-day, 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. For those of you that are interested in the startup program, for those of you that want the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator, that need help, that want me to coach you specific on how to get shippers and the freight broker sales process and all of the questions we've talked about today, and you really want to do a deep dive and you want me to take that piece of my brain and put it into your head, great. Go to freightbrokerbootcamp.com/FBSA. Okay, Chris, here's my suggestion. Message me when it comes in. Okay. And I'll let you know if there's any seats available. That's all. That's the best I can do. Okay. I hope that I'm able to work with you, but message me on Facebook when everything's done, and I will do my best to try to help. Okay. Okay, guys. So listen, that's going to wrap it up for today. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you being live. For those of you that were live, check out the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Again, it's a 5-week coaching program where I teach you everything I know about freight broker sales, how to get customers. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A today. For those of you that are looking for the startup program and you're kind of maybe just dipping your toe in the waters, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Trained over 10,000 students, and we offer a 60-day, 100% money-back guarantee. Again, thank you for joining me. Congratulations to everybody who won some of the prizes early on. If you won some of the giveaways before we started the training, then make sure you hit me up on Facebook with the sizes of the shirts that you won. Congratulations to those winners. I think Sean Lemansky and then one other, which is Freightpreneur, someone who solves problems you don't know you have in ways you can't understand. Okay, you'll get one of those shirts for winning. For those of you that haven't checked out the podcast yet, check out freightbrokerbootcamp.com. Go to wherever you listen to podcasts, on your Apple, your Android, Spotify, search for Freight Broker Bootcamp. We offer an audio-only version of the training. It's absolutely free, and you can check it out. And listen, I want to thank you guys for being here. Congratulations for everybody who did get enrolled in the Freight Broker Sales Accelerator. Anybody who's recently got involved in the Freight Broker Bootcamp, congratulations. Thank you so much. We won't let you down. Have an awesome day. Have an awesome week. And I'll see you next week, Monday, with another Freight Broker Bootcamp Live.